Hey guys, what I would like to do in this video is talk about microphone signal to noise ratio. Essentially what I want to do is talk about how you can get the most from your microphone, get the best audio quality and not peak. You don't want your audio recording to go into the red. When you start peaking, you get distortion, you get clipping, you get all these other problems. And yes, there are some things you can do on Adobe Audition or Audacity or whatever audio program you use. There are some effects that you can use, but I'll be honest, in my experience, if you're peaking, the audio just can't be used. It's very hard to salvage it, and most of the time it's better to just go back and re-record your audio. But unfortunately, sometimes that just isn't practical. So I want to talk about this. I've got two microphones I want to talk about. Mainly I'll be focusing on the Shure VP83, but this is the Rode VideoMicro as well. This one is battery operated, and this one gives you a lot more options. This is without doubt a better microphone than this one. This one is very popular, and one of the reasons it's popular is, well, its size. This one uses plug-in power from your phone or from your camera, and you don't have to worry about a battery or anything like that. But with this one, what you see is what you get. It really just, goes on auto mode with regards to having no settings for the audio levels. So I'll quickly talk about the Shure VP83 first. So this is a relatively easy mic to understand. It takes one AA battery. It's got the tripod mount down there, the hot shoe or cold shoe. I always get those mixed up. You've got your off-on button, but in between there's actually a low-cut filter there as well. And down the side here you can see it says -10, 0 or +20, and that refers to decibels. Now, I want to talk about the camera levels, right? Because this is, I think, where you get most problems. But I've actually used this microphone more over the last few years with my phone. I would use this smartphone grip, and you can see I've got it upside down actually. This smartphone grip, if I can get it off, this smartphone grip has a hot shoe at the top. And you can see it here. So it's got the hot shoe at the top, and I can very easily slide it in like that. Or can I very easily do it? No, not when I've got it there. So I set it in like that, I set it in the top and attach it like that. And I use it with my phone and it works very, very well. I do need to use an adapter with it though. I can't just use it like this. I've got a TRRS to TRRS adapter so that I can use the microphone with my phone. But yeah, this has worked great. Now, as far as using this with your phone, I'm coming from an Android perspective here, but it will be the same in anyone that's got an Apple phone, anyone that uses iOS. With regards to recording apps and camera apps and anything that records audio when you're using an external microphone, there's very few options. They don't. I mean, I've yet to come across an application yet that allows you to change the audio level. It really just operates on auto mode. So because of that, for years what I've been doing is operating on the 0 level. I found that +20 gives me distortion. It peaks. -10 is too quiet. 0 is on the money, and that's because the software here is using it all in auto mode. It doesn't give you any options to manually control the audio. So if you're using a microphone like this, or even something like the Rode VideoMicro that doesn't require a battery, generally speaking you'll find that the audio is better if you just leave it in auto mode. I may change my opinion on that if if there's an application out there that does allow you to change the audio levels, it does allow you to change the gain level. But I've yet to come across a good application that does allow you to do that. So here's the thing. For years, I have been using this microphone with this phone. It's always sounded amazing. But recently I started using it more with my Canon M50. Now, I had used this once or twice with my Sony RX10, which I'm recording with just now. And I had used it before just to test the microphone, just to see how it worked, etc. But with my M50, when I started using it, I wasn't using it right, if I'm honest. And the reason is I was using it on basically auto level. I'll demonstrate that just now. I just want to kind of show you that just now. But you may have noticed there, by the way, guys, you may have noticed there that this clasp is coming off. I actually emailed Shure about this, and the very next day they called me and they just said that I need to tighten this up with an Allen key. So kudos to Shure. I can't think of many companies that would phone you the very next day and allow you, give you some feedback on how it all works, etc. So yeah, very pleased with the support from Shure. So I'll get this on the camera. So when you get into the camera, it's dark here because I've got the lens cap on, but we don't need to see that anyway. I've got here sound recording. Now you can see it's on auto mode, and I'm going to put this on, and I'm also going to plug it in. That helps, doesn't it? So I've got it plugged in here, and I've got it at 0 up here. I've got the setting here at 0. It's hard to see here, but it is at 0 here. Now at auto level, you can see it is sometimes peaking. Depending on what I'm saying, it is sometimes peaking. Now, when I first started using the Shure VP83 with my M50, I did exactly what I did with my phone. I put it on auto mode, I left it at 0. But I noticed very quickly that the audio wasn't sounding that great. It wasn't even as good as the audio recorded through my phone. So I had a look at the manual, and this might be obvious to many people, but maybe not to others. When you look at the manual, there's a section down here that explains it all. And you can see here where it says, using the least amount of gain from the camera or recording device and more gain from the VP83 will result in a better signal to noise ratio. Note, if automatic gain control on the camera introduces unwanted audio artifacts, consider bypassing the feature. Yeah, that's exactly what I was experiencing. I wasn't getting very good audio. It wasn't terrible. It was just a little bit kind of felt a little bit wishy-washy, and it just wasn't as good as what I'm used to with the VP83, and I wasn't sure what was going on. If I go back here, you can see here the different levels here. It says that for plus 20 decibels, it says it's the appropriate level for many cameras when recording typical sound levels, speech for example, and for quiet sources. And then it's got some other examples for the other ones. For example, you might want to bring down the decibel level when you are recording at a concert, etc. But the problem I had was I set it at auto mode, and I had it at 0. And that's not what you want to do. Ideally, what you want to do when you're on a camera is get the signal to noise ratio better, and you put it on manual. Now you can see I'm talking now, and at 0, it isn't too good there. I've got the level down quite low. But the way that I've got it set up now, what I do is I put the decibel level up to plus 20. And it is hard to see the little switch here. I kind of feel it more than anything else, but I've got it plus 20 decibels. And then I set the level here, and I get it as low as I can. There, a little bit better there. And yeah, I set it like maybe 1 or 2, and I've got it plus 20 on the Shure VP83. And that works really well for me. It works fantastically, and the audio is so much better than it was before. There's other things you obviously have to take into account, the position of the microphone. I found it with the Shure VP83, if you're too far from the microphone, it doesn't sound great if you're like 4 or 5 feet away from it. But in that position, you'd maybe use a different type of microphone. But if you're very close to the camera and the microphone, kind of holding up in a vlogging stick or something like that, this kind of idea where you're holding a little mini tripod, then this is kind of what you would have to do. Set it at manual, and then get put plus 20 decibels. But it is important to remember that every microphone is different. And again, I'll maybe zoom out a little bit, you can see this better. This is the Rode VideoMicro, and if I put this one in, I'll just put this one at the side here. Now this is different, and you can see right away that this uses plug-in power, and you can see at the very same settings, because I don't have that plus 20 decibels now, the audio level just isn't high enough. It just isn't high enough. So in this one, what you ideally have to do is just keep going up until you reach the level where the audio sounds better. Of course, there is an option where you can go back and you can just put it in auto mode, and auto mode will find the audio level like that. But you can see here, I found that with this camera and with other cameras, auto mode can be a little bit hit or miss depending on where you're recording, and if you speak a little bit louder at one point, you might peak and the audio might not be the best. So I found that it can be a little bit annoying. You do have to do some testing, but manual does seem to be the best option in most situations. But again, you have to set it correctly. For each microphone is different. This one is plug-in power, this one is battery powered. But even if I switch from the Shure VP83 to something like a Rode VideoMic Pro or Pro Plus, I might find that I might have to set the levels a little bit different here. I maybe have to go in and change it a little bit, because every microphone is different. Now, there are some situations where I think auto could be maybe a little bit better. maybe, but it does depend. I'll give you an example. I was out with the RX10 recently, and I was doing some filming outside because I was recording myself, using the gimbal. So I was using a gimbal with my phone. My friend was recording me. Now, what I did beforehand, I thought I was doing well, was I tested everything on manual mode, and I tested it all. I forgot that was touchscreen. I tested it all in manual mode, and I tested it when I was at home. So I tested the audio levels for my RX10. Everything sounded great at home. And when we went outside, it looked like it was okay because, it didn't seem too windy. But when I came back, I realised that the wind was actually quite bad. And you will find that sometimes with microphones. I had a dead cat on this, but despite that, the audio levels were peaking. A lot of the audio just wasn't usable. And that's because I had it manual and I had it set perfectly at home, but it wasn't set perfectly for outside. And it is worth noting that you have to do all these kind of tests wherever you are. Inside your home, once you've got it all set, you might just always remember that, this kind of level is what you need recording at home. But when you go outside, there's different music outside, there's different sounds. As it said in the manual there, if you are at a concert or something, you might want to change that. If you're outside, you might want to change it again. So bear that in mind. And if you're outside and the weather is, maybe the wind is unpredictable, you might want to try auto. But I will say that auto, there's always that risk that I've found with cameras. If you go auto mode, there's always that risk of peaking. Certainly if you're outside and there's a lot of wind or there's a lot of unexpected loud noises that are a little bit higher than what is normal. And I found that when I was talking, everything was fine in auto mode or even in manual mode, but then when there was a big gust of wind, it was a lot higher than what I was expecting. So I'm not ruling out that there might be certain situations where auto is advisable. Certainly if you're going from inside to outside or the environment is changing, or simply because you don't have time to test anything. Sometimes you just don't have time to sit and go through and test everything for a couple of minutes and do audio tests, depending on what you're doing. But I would say, generally speaking, if you can get you do manual, you can try and get it to around this level. You don't want to peak, you don't want to get it in the red. You should get better audio quality. But again, there's a lot of things to consider, and that's why I keep saying test everything. And you can see here, if I move this from plus 20 down to 0, sorry, I've turned it off there. That's not what you want. If I get the top mark here and I change it down to 0, and you can see the audio level is going down, and if I put it down to minus 10 decibels, it's not picking up anything, pretty much. It's not really picking up anything. So make sure you check your audio levels a lot. Make sure you test your audio levels if you're changing environment from inside to outside, if there's music starting to play, if there's wind, or if there's anything like that. And also when you change microphones, remember that every microphone is different. And it sounds obvious saying that, but it is something that even today, sometimes, you do forget. If I switch from this microphone to that one, and I just plug this one in, if I forget to go in here and change the audio level, then the audio that I record with this is going to be pretty bad. It's going to be too quiet because I've got the audio levels here set up right now with plus 20 decibels. So bear that in mind, guys. So just as a reminder, guys, if you're using it with your phone, I have found that for the most part, you can only use auto and just use microphones as they're intended. Use any microphone that gives you an option of plus 20 or 0 or minus 10. I found it with smartphones. Keep it at 0. Keep everything at the default setting. Things like the Rode VideoMicros, just plug and play, just plug it in. But when it comes to your camera, it's a little bit of a different situation. And when you're recording with your camera, you're generally with your camera, you're trying to record better footage anyway. But I would say that, test everything, keep testing everything, and refer to the manual. I know it sounds silly, but it's only recently that I've actually referred to the manual and found out a few things about the Shure VP83 that I never knew before. So refer to the manual. There might be a few settings in there that maybe you took for granted and maybe aren't exactly what you thought they were. And on the subject of this is a fantastic microphone. There are a few Rode mics and a few other microphones out there that are more popular, and I'm always reviewing my options and always looking at different microphones out there. But this has been fantastic for me, and even if I do pick up another microphone, I think I'll always keep this in my collection. So yes, back on topic, guys. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. You know, audio doesn't always come across as the most interesting thing to talk about, but if you're on YouTube or, you know, you're doing videos for anywhere, Vimeo, whatever, audio is one of the biggest things. It's one of the things you really should try and get right as early as possible. People are very forgiving of bad video, but they're not forgiving of bad audio, and they will switch off if the audio is bad. So a lot of this will be obvious to anyone who's been recording videos for a long time, but I hope some of you found this useful. And if you get any tips, any advice that you want to share with other people, please do leave a comment below. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. Please do leave a comment, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Take care.